What does a polar bear have to do with chemistry? Well, polar has to do with a property. We talk about different chemicals as being polar or nonpolar. Is a polar bear polar? Why do we call a polar bear a polar bear? In chemistry, polarity has to do with having an unequal distribution of charge. And when we talk about a charge, we're talking about the positive and negative charges that we know already exist in atoms. And it's very similar to the charges on opposite ends of a magnet, in that opposite charges attract and like charges repel. So what does this have to do with a polar bear? The Earth has a magnetic field, and when you take Earth science, you're going to learn a little bit more about the layers of the Earth. And the inner core of the Earth is solid metal, and the outer core is liquid metal. And as the Earth spins, the metal in the liquid outer core is spinning around the inner core, and what you end up with is the equivalency of having like a big magnet right in the center of the Earth. And so as a result, we have what's called the magnetic north and south poles. We have a positive end of the Earth and the negative end of the Earth. They have opposite charges. Scientists know this because the rock layers that are formed through igneous rocks actually line up. The charges inside the molecules of the rocks line up to align according to the polar distribution of the Earth's charge, which is kind of like saying the inside of the Earth is similar to a great big magnet, and other things have to rotate because of that strong magnetic field. So a polar bear, of course, we call a polar bear because they are so far north, they're near the North Pole. The magnetic North Pole and the geographic North Pole are different. The geographic North Pole is a place on a map, and it doesn't change. But the magnetic North Pole actually changes, where the true charge of that polar distribution of charge is going to change around over time. So there's a difference there. What's this have to do with chemistry? Well, we have things that we talk about and whether or not they're polar or nonpolar. The most common polar substance is water. Every water molecule has a positive side and a negative side, and you will need to know this for a quiz. If you're asked to draw the molecule of water, it's pretty easy to do. The water molecule has an oxygen and two hydrogens. And it's actually shaped a lot like Mickey Mouse's head. True story. And the two hydrogens, of course, are like where Mickey's ears are. We can remember that because we hear with our ears, and hydrogens are Mickey's ears. And then if you think about Mickey singing, "Oh, I love chemistry," Mickey's mouth is the oxygen. So we have the water molecule. Now it is the ear side of every water molecule, the hydrogens, that are positive, and the oxygen's side is the negative side. It's because of an unequal distribution of the electrons in that molecule that every water molecule is sort of like a magnet. It has a positive side and a negative side. So if you're asked on a quiz, draw a diagram or a model of the water molecule and identify how it's polar, this is your answer. You're going to draw your oxygen, put your two hydrogens in there, label them, and identify that the positive side of water is the hydrogen, the negative side is the oxygen, and it's that simple. So this water molecule is polar, and what does that really mean for properties? Well, that's what we're going to be exploring in class. We're going to take a look at how we can actually see visually that water molecules are polar. And then as the year goes on, we'll expound on our knowledge of polarity and how molecules become polar in their structure. But you can see here that it shows that there's a slight negative charge on the oxygen side. It's upside down Mickey. Your hydrogens are underneath, and the hydrogens are the positive side. And water molecules are very attracted to other water molecules because of this polarity. The positive side of one molecule is attracted to the negative side of another molecule, just like magnets. In fact, these attractions are so strong that they have their own name. They're called hydrogen bonds. They're not a true chemical bond. It doesn't form a permanent bond between atoms, but it is something that is so important in the behavior of water and other polar substances that it does have its own name. It's called a hydrogen bond. Many of the things that we know about water, the way water works, the way capillary action in a plant works, the water moves up through the xylem in a plant. You learned that last year in biology. The reason why water does a lot of the amazing things it does is because these water molecules are attracted to each other. The reason why water bugs can walk across the surface tension of the water is because these water molecules at the top of the water are so attracted to each other that they actually create a barrier called the surface tension of water, and that's what these bugs are walking across. If you want to get rid of the bugs in like a swimming pool or something, you add what's called a surfactant, which breaks up these hydrogen bonds and removes the surface tension, and then the bugs can't stay up there. The meniscus that we read when we read a graduated cylinder is also caused because water's polar, and the attraction for the water molecules to themselves, to each other, pulls that water down towards itself, while some of the water molecules remain adhesive or attracted to the side of the graduated cylinder. So you have water molecules here having an attraction to the side of the container, and then you have the rest of the water molecules pulling towards themselves, towards each other, and that's how you get a meniscus. So many things we'll talk about with water have to do with the fact that it's polar, but we want you to know going in that water's polar and have an understanding that in chemistry, polarity refers to an unequal distribution of charge, and no, polar bears aren't polar, but we still call them that, of course, because of where they live. We'll be looking more closely at this in class tomorrow. We'll be talking about some polar and non-polar things leading into the mini lab. Have a great day.